Good morning, colleagues. My name is Japie de Jager. I'm the acting SES for Civil Technology Woodworking. I will be today talking about the memo discussion. We'll do a memo discussion on our September paper. Welcome to this memo discussion. Before we start with the memo discussion itself, there's a few things that I would like to share with you, which is very important when we do our marking. During our marking, we must make sure that, of course, we have our memo paper, but not only the memo paper, we must make sure that we have the question paper as well as our textbook. The reason for that is you will find that sometimes when you mark, that you will get a consistent error from learners, and then you can go back to your question paper and see if they do understand the question the right way. That is the reason that we have the question paper as well. It also helps you to learn the content easier. So that is the reason for having the question paper there. Having the textbook also available while you are marking is very important. Sometimes when we do a certain topic, say for instance like doors, we have an answer that comes up in a next chapter, which also is about doors, but they are talking there about hinges, for example. So sometimes the learner go to another chapter and then they take the answer from that chapter and they give it to you on the question paper, on the answer sheet. And it is necessary for you to then, when you see 2 or 3 of these answers, go back to your textbook and have a look. Perhaps you can give the learner then a mark for that answer. So it is very important that your textbook is always there, so to go and do some references and see where does this answer comes from. Then when we mark, colleagues, please, I think most of us marks question by question. That is very important. This is the easiest way to learn the memo, and the faster you learn the memo, the easier the marking will be. So let's go question by question. Sometimes it happens when you are marking that 2 or 3 learners make the same mistake, and when we do the whole script at one time, then we are struggling to go back and look for the answer. So when we go question by question, it's much easier. Then we can easily detect a problem or a mistake that's been made. When you do your marking, please, at the end of each page, add all your marks and write it there at the bottom of the page. So when we do moderation, and you do moderation later, that you will know it's much easier and that we do not make a mistake. Sometimes there's a question and then it counts 5 marks, and like labeling. When you look at the sketch, you see the learner's work is 100% correct and it counts 5 marks. Please make 5 ticks there. Do not just make 1 tick and award 5 marks. This is very confusing later on when we do moderation, as well as when you add your totals. Then you will add sometimes the ticks and you will slip this one. So make sure for every mark there is 1 tick on the answer sheet. Very important for that. And if a question is not answered by a learner, please draw a line through that question. Do not leave the space open and draw a line through that question. That is more or less the important stuff when we start marking. Is there anything else? I will add that when we go through the memo. I've got the memo as well as the question paper open, so we'll take it, we'll go through the question and then we'll go to the memo. And that is the way we must mark as well, the question paper open as well as the memo. So if we go to question number 1. Question number 1 there is about materials, tools, equipment, and that is a very easy question to mark. Choose a description from column B that matches an item in column A. It's quite easy there. It is C, D, F, A, G. Nothing difficult about that. Question 1.2. What is the minimum height and purpose of the guardrail of a scaffold in terms of safety? Now here you must make sure we ask 2 questions in one there. What is the minimum height? That is number 1. And the purpose of the guardrail. So the answer there will be 900 millimeters. For that you give 1 mark. And the second part of the question would be prevent people from overstepping the platform and falling. or that would be 2 marks then for that question. 1.3, explain 2 advantages of galvanizing. It adds strength to the original uncoated metal, and galvanized metals is thicker than uncoated metal. We've got 3 answers there, so any 2 of those 3 answers would be acceptable. We go to 1.4, state 2 properties of paint. We've got 4 answers there, so you're going to mark the first 2 or whatever the learner is giving you. It's available as water or oil-based paint. Next one there is available in different finishes such as matte, semi-gloss. Colleagues, just make sure there that you do not award 2 marks for if the answer would be available in different finishes like matte, and the second answer will be available in different finishes like semi-gloss. So that's actually the same answer. Let us make sure that we do not give a mark there. So it must be different properties that is given to us there. 1.5, explain one purpose of powder coating. Prevents corrosion, suitable for coating metals such as outdoor furniture. If you get the answer and it tells you anything about preventing corrosion in the answer, that it can be a little bit of an open-end question here. So read it thoroughly and make sure that you understand that. We will give the learner a mark there. Then we go to 1.6, about the tools. Figure 1.6 below show a tool that is commonly used in the building industry. 611, identify the tool. Now the memo says here, it's a dumpy level with telescopic staff. If the learner gives just dumpy level, that would be acceptable. 162, identify any 2 main parts of the tool. Now there are 3 main parts there, any 2 of those 3 main parts. That will be the telescope, the tripod, or the telescopic staff. Any 2 of those 3 will count 2 marks. 163, explain one use of the tool. Determining differences between levels and vertical heights, especially over longer distances. Determining levels and slopes, setting out buildings, transferring levels and heights. Now this is also a little bit of an open-end question here. Please read through it, and if you see that the learner knows that this dumpy level is there to determine levels and vertical heights, give him the mark there. 1 tick, any one of those possible 3 answers there. 1.7, 2 sketches there. The question is figure 1.7 below shows joining features that are used in the building sites and in workshops. 171, identify fastener A and B. Okay, A would be then the raw bolt, and B will be a bolt and nut. So make sure the bolt and nut, it's not only a bolt or not only a nut, it is a bolt and nut. 1 mark for each of those answers there. And then question number 172, explain one use of fastener A and fastener B respectively. Number A, the raw bolts are for heavy duty work. It fastens wood, steel to masonry. So the important part, it is heavy duty and you can fix it to a masonry wall or to concrete. Number B is a bolt and nut. That is just a fastener that is joining 2 different metals, like a joining wood to wood, steel to steel, but it is not there to join, for instance, steel to a masonry wall. Make sure that you know the difference there, that the learner gives you the right difference there. Question number 2. Question number 2 is on answer sheet. The first one there is describe the purpose of feature A. That is a break line or a breaking line. And the answer would be, it indicates that the drawing continues. So the drawing has been going on there, and that is reason why you use the breaking line. Number 2, name the type of roof end that is shown at 2. Now that is a ridge. Number 3, draw a line diagram to indicate how the roof end at 3 will be drawn on the floor plan. Now we've got the answer there. You will see there are 3 ticks there. And the 3 ticks are for the ridge. The number 1 tick there is for the ridge and the other 2s are for the slope. So make sure, if the learner would draw a gable roof there with only one ridge, then you give him the 1 mark. Then he'll obviously lose the other 2 marks. So if he draws a wrong roof there, but there is a ridge, he indicates that there is a ridge, then you can give him 1 mark there. And then identify the feature at 3, that would be a ridge plate. Identify number 4, that would be a gutter. Number 6, state the standard slope that is used for the pitch of the roof end at 4. That would be 45 degrees. Number 7, identify number 5. Now that is a downpipe. Make sure that's a downpipe. A lot of learners say there that it is a gutter pipe, but this is a downpipe. 1 tick there. Number 8, identify number 6. Number 6 would be a balustrade or a guard rail. Any one of those 2 will be acceptable. Only 1 mark there then. Number 9, name the material that is used for number 6. That would be steel or wood. Sometimes they would write timber. It will also be acceptable. Number 10, describe the purpose of the short dashed lines at number 7. Well, the answer there will be to indicate opening direction of the window. Sometimes the learners will put there the handle. It also indicates the handle, but the correct answer would be to indicate the opening direction of the window. So 1 mark there. Number 11, identify the part of the stairs indicated at number 8. That would be a landing. Identify number 9, that's a wall light. Number 13, identify number 10. This one must be correct, please. That's a one-way switch 3-pole. So the important part there is a one-way switch 3-pole. Number 14, which part of the window is indicated by number 11? That would be the window frame. That would not be the glass, so just make sure we will not be able to see the glass on such a small scale there. It is the window frame. Number 15, identify number 12. That would be a built-in cupboard. If you use the abbreviation BIC, that is also acceptable. Then we move over to number 16. Deduce the thickness of the wall at number 13. That is 220 millimeters. Number 17, describe the purpose of number 14. That is to indicate true north. So do you ask the purpose? We do not ask what it is. It is to indicate true north. Make sure about that one. Number 18, differentiate between the lights in the bathroom and the light in the corridor. And number 9 is the light in the bathroom. That is wall mounted. And number 15 is the light in the corridor. That is a ceiling mounted light. That is the difference between 2. 1 mark for each one of those answers. Number 19, which part of the window is indicated by number 16? That is our window sill. 20, differentiate between the light switches number 17 and 18. Number 17 is a 2-way switch. 1 tick there, 1 mark. Number 18 is a 1-way switch, single pole. The single pole is important there, please. 21, identify number 19. That is a socket outlet. Number 22, give the abbreviation for the following sanitary fitments: shower, water closet, and hand wash basin. We've got there SWC and HWB, 1 mark for each one of those. 23, who did the review on this plan? That will be L. Koenig. Number 24, state the date on which the drawing was reviewed. 2019-502, that is easy. Number 25, that's also easy. Deduce from the plan in which direction the upper part of the stairs is rising? That would be, it's rising from right to left, or they can say east to west. Any one of those two answers would be correct, 1 mark there. Number 26, when was the plan printed? That's easy enough, 2019, 05/24. Number 27, what is the project number for this plan? It's AB 250/470. Number 28, deduce from the annotations the width of window 2. Now it can be in meter or millimeter, it can be 2000 millimeter, or the answer can be 2 meter. 1 mark there, please. Then calculate the area of room 2 in meter. Now if you go to room 2, if you have a look at room 2 at the sketch there, you'll see that they give you 2 dimensions there. For the room, the length and the width, it is 2725. And you'll see that is the inside dimension that they give. And then on the right hand side, they give the 2725. So that is the inside to the outside. So on that one, there's a little catch, and that is where you have to minus it with 220. So you take 2725, that is correct, times 2725 minus, comma, 220, the width of the wall. That will give you 2,505. And the answer there will be 6,826. If you just write 6,8, that will also be acceptable. Square meters. If it's only meters, it is wrong. It must be square meters. And it must be in meters. If it is in millimeters, obviously it will also then be wrong. Number 30, calculate the volume for the floor of room 2 in meters if the floor is 100 millimeters or 1 meter thick. Now that would be 2,725 times 2,505 times 0,1, and that would be 0,6826 cubic meters. Make sure that the cubic meters is correct. Now that concludes question number 2. We go over to question number 3. Question number 3 will be about casements, cupboards, wall paneling, and quantities. The first one there would be figure 3.1 shows an external elevation of a double casement with fan light. 3.1, explain the reason for the installation of fan lights in casements. And there we've got 3 possible answers, any 2 of the 3. Fan lights enhance the appearance of casements. So if they say it's make it more beautiful, make it more appealing, so that would be correct. Number 2 there, can open separately to allow ventilation. And the last one there, light can penetrate through the fan light. So only 2 of those 3, 2 marks there. 3.12, recommend one suitable material that can be used to manufacture part A. Any type of slow-growing hardwood. If it writes only hardwood, that would also be acceptable. 3.13, identify B, C, and D. B is the transom, C is the glass panel, and D is the style of the casement. 1 tick for each one of those. Make sure that C is a glass panel, not just only panel, because it must be glass. 3.14, label E indicates the bottom rail. State the general width and height in millimeters. Okay, that would be 60 millimeters times 44 millimeters. That is the correct answer there. And when we go to 3.2, 3.2 will be the cupboard. We ask there, use answer sheet 3.2 and draw in good proportion the front elevation of a freestanding cupboard within the doors, without the doors. The incomplete frame of the cabinet is giving and is made out of 20 millimeter SA pine. Complete the drawing and show the following details in your drawing. Now, colleagues, if you go to the answer there, we have the assessment criteria there, and we're going to follow that one. If you look at the sketch there, we'll see the top rail, 1 tick there for the top rail. If he puts the top rail and it is like shaped like a cornice, also 1 point there, no problem, 1 mark there. The second one there will be the top shelf. the top shelves from the one side to the other side. The third one there, the divider, intermediate. It goes there in the center. It's important that it goes in the center because this cupboard has two doors and that one's supposed to be right there in the center. The overhanging rail will be on the left-hand side as asked in the question. Shelves. The shelves, we mark the one. There are two shelves there that we can mark. They ask 3, but the third shelf is there at the bottom. It's not visible, so we mark the 2 that is visible. The base at the bottom there, 1 mark for the base. And then proportion. When you mark the proportion, please make sure that all the lines are more or less equally thick and that the oval rail is a little bit thicker. So it's up to your own judgment to see if the proportion is good enough there. Make sure you give those 2 marks and indicate those 2 marks right there on the paper, proportion, and then 1 tick or 2 ticks. So when you add it, you will know what those ticks are for. Then we move over to 3.3. Answer sheet 3.3 shows an incomplete vertical section through a wall panel from floor to ceiling height. Use answer sheet 3.3 and complete in good proportion the drawing by adding the following. If we go over to the memo, you will see there that in the assessment criteria, everything is there. We start there at the top. We give a mark there for the cornice. And then we give a mark for the capping. Now, colleagues, the capping is 1 mark on the outside and 1 mark on the inside. So that is where the 2 marks come from. Then we go a little bit down, horizontal rough grounds. See if it is there, if it is spaced well enough, and you give 1 mark for all of them there, just 1 mark. The wall paneling board itself on the outside, 1 mark for that one. Molded skirting at the bottom, and it is finished off with a quadrant mold. That will give you 7 marks for that question. Question 3.4. Quantities. Figure 3.4 below shows the floor plan of a garage with a garage door of 10,000 millimeters and a hipped roof. The walls are 220 wide. Study the figure and answer the questions that follow. Question 3.4.1. Calculate the length in meters of fascia board needed for the roof. The roof overhang is 400 millimeters on all 4 sides. So when you look at the calculation there, we will see that we have used fascia board equals 12,800. That would be that 12,000 plus the 400 overhang on each side, plus 12,800 plus 6,800 plus 6,800. If the learner would there do something like 12,800 plus 6,800 times 2, it is also correct. Then the answer would be 39,200 millimeters or 39.2 meters. The next one there is the skirting on the inside. The calculations there will be 5,560 plus 5,560 plus 11,560 plus 780 and 780. For those calculations, you give 2 marks there, and the answer will be then 24,240 millimeters or 24.24 meters. Then we go over to the sketch. Question 4. It's about roofs, ceilings, tools and equipment, material. The first question there is a drawing of a closed coupled roof truss, which has a span of 2,500 millimeters and a pitch of 30 degrees. Use the answer sheet and draw in good proportion a sectional view through the top part of the wall and the roof truss. Now, if we look at the memo, we will see the sketch there. We go to the assessment criteria. Very easy there. The wall plates, 1 mark on the left and 1 mark there on the right. The rafters, 1 mark on the left and 1 mark on the right, 1 tick there and 1 tick. The ridge beam there at the top, 1 tick for the ridge beam. Then the tie beam is also 1 tick there, 1 mark. Then the slope. please make sure you've got it is 30 degrees, it can't be 45 degrees, so 1 mark there for the slope of the roof. And then the overhang. The overhang on the left-hand side and the overhang on the right-hand side is 1 tick each. That is 2 marks. That gives us a total of 9 marks. 4.2, name 3 different types of covering. That would be IBR roof sheeting, corrugated iron sheeting, and sometimes the learners will just say their zinc plaat. So that will also be acceptable. That is a common name that is commonly used. The other one is thatched roofs. And the last one there is concrete roof tiles or just roof tiles. 4.3 is another sketch that I have to make, and this is a 1-line diagram. They ask there, distinguish between a roof of open eave and a roof of closed eave by means of 2 neat line diagrams. You give the 2 marks there if the opening is there. If you can see it's an open eave, 1 for the wall and 1 for the roof sheeting that goes over there. For the open eave, the closed eave, exactly the same. If it is closed there, you give the mark, and you give a mark for indicating it is closed up to the wall. So that is the important part there. 4.4, describe the purpose of roof covering. There again, we've got 4 answers there. Any 2 of them can resist weather conditions, looks durable, is fire resistant, provides isolation. Any 2 of those 4 there. 4.5, explain the purpose of a trapdoor. Here you must just make sure that we give the marks for the right answers there. It is to gain entrance to the roof space. That's important, roof space. Between the ceiling and the roof covering from the inside of the house. It is not to get to the geyser. Sometimes the geyser can be in a room or the geyser can be in a closet. So the right answer here would be to get entrance into the roof space or the space between the ceiling and the roof covering. So 2 marks there, and you enter from the inside of the house. Those are the 2 marks. Make sure that you tick that correctly. 4.6, name 1 material that is most suitable for a trapdoor. Rhino board, wood, SA pine, Egyptian ceiling board. There's a lot of those. Any one of those 3 or 4 answers there. 4.7, figure 4.7 below shows 2 working machines. 4.7.1, identify tool A and B. That would be a router, number A, and B would be a combination disc and belt sander. That is not a belt sander, colleagues. That is a combination disc and belt sander. Make sure about that one. 4.7.2, name 2 methods how to store tool A. Store the router in a dry, safe place and store it in a wooden or a plastic box away from moisture. So it would, the tick would be there for the safe place and then away from moisture. 4.8, another machine there. We say figure 4.8 below shows the woodworking machine. Study the figure and answer the questions that follow. 4.8.1, identify the machine. So that is quite easy. That's a thickness planer. 4.8.2, how do we take care? Recommend 2 suitable methods to take care of the machine. We've got a lot of answers there, so any 2 of those answers. I'm just going to do the first 2 there. Lubricate the machine and clean after use. If a child gives or the learner gives an answer that is acceptable, make sure, read it through. And if it is an answer that you do not see often, just write it somewhere on a piece of paper. Perhaps that same answer will come up when you are busy with the next learner, so that you can remember that you've given a answer or that type of answer, tick a mark for that answer. 4.9, name 2 methods that are used for the grading of timber and give at least 1 property that is tested with each method. Now, the 2 methods there is 4.9 mechanical graded and visually graded. Mechanical graded is testing strength, stiffness and density. The visual grading will be testing strength in terms of looking at it and in terms of handling the wood. So in both cases we will test the strength and the density. The one will be with a machine and the other one will be just by looking at it. 4.10, after completion of your model, it must be preserved to have a longer lifespan. Explain how to prepare your model and apply the first layer of varnish. Now this is an open-end question, colleagues, and you're going to get a lot of answers here. The important ones are number 1 there, sand until smooth without scratches. So you'll start every project like that. Then you remove all the dust, fill all the openings with wood filler, apply sanding sealer to seal the surface. So that is very important. You just don't put on the varnish, you must have a sealer. After you put on the sealer, you must lightly sand it and remove the dust again, because then the surface will be coarse, and that is why we must sand it. And then only can you apply your layer of varnish. So in that sequence, please make sure it is in that sequence. Number 4.11, describe 2 factors that should be considered when selecting timber for doors and windows. Doors must comply with SABS 54 regulation, whether to use softwood or hardwood, whether the timber will be varnished or what type of finish will you paint it, the grain pattern, the availability of the timber. So any 2 of those possible answers there. Colleagues, then we move over to question number 5. Question number 5 will be about centering, formwork and shoring. 5.1 shows a pictorial view of the constructional detail at the base of a center. Draw in your answer book a neat, well-portioned, freehand sketch to illustrate the side view of the construction of only one rib. Okay, so when you go to the memo there, you'll see it is only one rib that's been drawn there. You give a tick there for the ties, for the label, and you give a tick for if it is correct. And there at the top, you give a tick for the rib, and you give a tick for the label indicating the rib. If the question is answered correctly, but the labels are wrong, then you're going to give 2 marks there. So you're going to mark the question, the answer there. If it's drawn correctly, you will give 2 marks there. But if the labels are incorrect, you'll only mark them incorrect. Do not give no marks to the learner there. 5.2, that is an easy one. It is 521 to 522. It's E, A, F, C, and B. Nothing to discuss there. 5.3, state 2 properties of timber formwork. Now there's a lot of them. Any 2 of those are acceptable there. 5.4, draw a neat freehand sketch of a set of folding wedges. Okay, set of folding wedges, and there must be 2, so it's 1 tick for each of them. 5.5, differentiate between open laggings and closed lagging by means of neat sketches. Label your drawing. You will see there on the memo that we give a mark for the sketch itself, and then we give a mark for the label to tell us exactly that the learner knows which part is which part. So for the plywood there on top, we give a mark, and then for the plywood label we give a mark. That is closed laggings. And the learner must indicate it is closed laggings. Then the open laggings, you'll see we give a mark there for the planks there on top, and then for the ribs at the bottom. So 2 marks there for the sketch, and 2 marks there for the labels. 5.6, explain the main purpose of a dead shore. On the dead shore, the purpose of that is to support a structure. That's 1 mark for the support of a structure. Carry the dead weight of the structure above them, or transfer the weight of the structure to the firm ground during renovations of the building. So make sure you tick the right words there. The one would be the structure, and then carrying the loads over to the firm ground during renovation. 5.7, we've got a sketch there of the base of a dead shore, and it must be labeled. That is easy enough. Dead shore, folding wedges, sole plate or sleeper, and then steel dark, number D. Number 5.8, that is a staircase, a formwork for a staircase, A, B, C. A is the rise, B the thread, and C the wall string. 5.9, name 2 types of material that can be used for the lining on the inside of formwork. Okay, and then we've got there 4 examples for us there. 5.9, any 2 of those 4 is suitable for our answer. Question number 6. 6.1 is choose the correct lock or the latch that will suit the following descriptions by choosing a lock or latch from the list below. So they give us a description there, and that is easy enough. 611 will be a rim lock, 612 a mortise lock, 613 a night latch, 614 a drawer lock, 615 a straight cupboard lock. The next question there will be a door. 6.2, that is a 2-panel door, shows a drawing of a 2-panel door with raised and fielded panels and a high lock rail. Study the drawing and answer the questions that follow. 6.2.1, identify parts A to E. A is the top rail, B is the top raised and fielded panel, not just a panel, it must be a top raised and fielded panel. Number C is a high lock rail. Number D is a stile. And number E is a bottom rail. If the learner would indicate that number D is a lock style or a hinge style, that also will be acceptable because he knows what's going on there. 6.2.2, recommend one suitable height for the door, and 6.2.3 is suitable width for the door. That would be 2032 and 813 millimeters. Okay, then we go over to 6.3. Use answer sheet 6.3 and draw a neat freehand sketch in good proportion of the back elevation of a framed ledge and braced batten door. No hidden detail is necessary. Okay, colleagues, you must make sure that that is the back of the door. If he draws the front of the door and he indicates by hidden detail lines, you can also mark that correct, but it must be clear. The assessment criteria there at the bottom indicates the possible marks. The top rail there at the top is 1 mark there. The tongue and groove battens, 1 mark for that. The stile, 1 on the left and 1 on the right. The braces, there must be 2 braces, 1 at the top, and make sure the braces go in that direction. If the braces go in the wrong direction, you do not give a mark, you just give a mark for 1 of them. The middle lock rail is 1 mark, and then the bottom rail is another mark. That is 8 marks there. 6.4. 6.4 is differentiate between a door frame and jamb lining by means of sketches. Label the sketches. You'll see on the memo the ticks there. The tick number 1 will be the one next to the door frame, so the space that is left on the wall itself. And then for the rebate, and then for the door frame. So those are the 4 ticks. When you go over to jamb lining, you will see for the beads that is against the wall, that is 1 mark there at the top and 1 at the bottom. And then for the plank that we put against the wall itself, and for the small little one there, so that is 1 mark for each one of them. It forms a type of a rebate, so that is where that mark goes to. 6.5, name 1 fastener or method to join the following components. 6.5.1, roof trusses to wall plate. Wire straps, if the learner indicates just like wire, that will also be acceptable. And then a hoop iron strap, so any one of those would be acceptable. 6.5.2, the wall plate to the wall. It can be bolted, holding down straps, or wire, any one of those 3 there. 6.5.3, adjacent roof truss members to each other. That would be a gang nail, a hurricane clip, bolts and nuts. Any one of those three will also be acceptable. 654, a door to a door frame, that will be a hinge. 655, brand ring to tie beams, that would be nails. And then the last question here is use answer sheet 6.6 and draw a neat exploded view of a twin mortise and tenon joint. The style and unfinished rail is given. So it's already given there, you must just complete it. It asks there, complete only the rail with the two tenons. If we go to the answer, you will see that the marks are indicated there. One mark for the shoulder. So there must be a shoulder that goes all the way, all around the double tenons. Each tenon, you can give 3 marks for the 3 sides that is visible there. So 3 sides for the top one and 3 sides for the bottom one. If the learner draw only one tenon here, you can give him 3 marks. So he will lose the 3 marks for the bottom one or the top one. And that concludes our session for this memo discussion. Colleagues, I would really like for you to enjoy your marking. It is quite a challenge with all the mark work that we have now. So if you mark, please mark as if your own child's paper is in front of you. If you're not sure about the answer, go and look in your textbook and give the child or the learner the benefit of the doubt. Make sure that you mark consistently. So what you mark in question number 1 for learner number 1 must be exactly the same as learner number 5. Don't be afraid to give your work to somebody to moderate. It is always good. I hope you have a good marking session and the best of luck for the rest of the exams. Thank you very much.